Dream expert Theresa Cheung joins me in this episode of the Conscious Diva podcast. We talk about dreams from her newly revised and updated edition, The Dream Dictionary. Interpret the secrets of your dreams. This is the best dream interpretation book that I have read in a very, very long time. It helps you decipher what's possibly going on in your unconscious and offers insights to cross-reference how your dreams might impact your waking life. In this book, Teresa gives you everything you need to dream bigger and better. Whatever your dream symbol or experience might be, you will find a treasure trove of thousands of interpretations in this newly revised dream dictionary. Teresa has written over 150 books. She is a regular media commentator on dream decoding, spirituality, the afterlife, astrology, and so much more. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into dream interpretation. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, if you really enjoyed this episode, you can write a review and you can follow my podcast and me on Instagram at The Conscious Diva. Thanks again. So you have this great book, The Dream Dictionary.
Thank you.
Interpret the secrets of your dreams. Yeah, thank you. And is this a second edition of this book?
Well, it's about so many editions. It came out in the early 2000s. Actually, it came out in a really big hardback, which was 400,000 words, was massive. Those are the days when it was almost like a Bible. Um,
Wow.
and it's interesting actually because the supermodel Bella Hadid has that copy. Those copies are very rare. But what the publisher did, and she put it on her Instagram, which was just like suddenly my phone was blowing up. Bella Hadid posted, it was called the Element Encyclopedia of 20,000 Dreams, and it was quite literally 20,000 or more dreams
Wow.
organized by theme. But then HarperCollins decided that they wanted something that people could buy, easier to
Now.
afford and so and I was literally given like 2 weeks. You need to cut this in a third. And I was actually quite frustrated at the time because there's so much that's not in there that I wanted in there, but is in the original edition. And then over the years, it just kept getting reissued because it just kept getting by word of mouth getting popular. And this is I think the 2022 or 3 reissue with Costco and Barnes and Noble.
Wow.
Barnes particularly likes to do their own edition. I think it's a Thunder Bay edition by Simon and Schuster. So there are a lot of editions out there, but basically it's 25 years old. And I would love to just rewrite it now to bring it much more up to modern times. But
Mm.
it's selling well enough in its own right. So my publisher
Well,
says, ain't broke, don't fix it.
no, that's exactly right. And dream dictionaries are invaluable. I hadn't had, I mean, I've got other authors books from decades ago, but over just the course of my life, I stopped buying them because I just started to tune into my dreams and tuned into the meanings. And I actually have a whole list of questions. I was going to ask them to you, ask them in order, but since we're talking about this, you've actually got a topic about it, and it's dreamscaping. So I didn't know that name. I wasn't familiar with the term, but I just intuitively found myself using this technique. So just explain, what is dreamscaping? How can we use this as a tool?
Well, it's basically examining your dreams and the content of them. And if they make you feel uneasy or unhappy, it's basically setting the intention the night before to have more informative or clearer or positive dreams. And why that matters so much, because you can influence the contents of your dreams. People think that dreams happen to us, and they
Mm.
do to a certain extent, as I always compare them to the ocean. You can learn to sail in the ocean, but you can't control it. The same with dreams. Dreams do happen to you, but you're not entirely helpless. You can learn to sail and navigate in your dreams. And that's what dreamscaping is. It's doing things during the day that are going to show up in your dreams, positive things. And also, before you go to sleep at night, setting the intention, I would like my dream to focus on this area of my life or this issue, or to show me the way forward. And then basically decoding your dreams with that the next day. And the reason that matters so much is because dreams are your unconscious world. what you truly, deep down, believe about yourself, your life, and others. And
Yeah.
most of us in our waking life are in denial about that. We
Mm.
think we believe something, we think we believe we're awesome, but maybe deep down there's a lot of insecurity underneath, which is many of us. Or we have these ideas, we've closed our mind to something when we really need to open it. And that's why dreamscaping is so important, because it can show you actually where you currently are with your mindset and how that mindset is either attracting or repelling what you want.
Yeah.
And then with that clarity, you can work in your waking life to alter your mindset. And whenever your mindset alters, so do your dreams. And when
Mm.
your dreams change, so does your waking mindset. I'm coming more and more to the conclusion, happy dreams, happy life.
Yeah,
Right?
I
But
agree
if
with
you
that.
can, because that's deep down, you're finding inner harmony, peace, and balance. If more of your dreams are more balanced and happy and creative and alive and vibrant, that is going to show up in your waking life, because that's deep down who you are. You can't escape the honesty of your dreams, and that's the beauty of them. And I wish people would stop fearing them, dismissing them as nonsense. I mean, because they are so subtle. I can understand why that happens. They are so subtle. But as you would well know, the more you tune into them, the more you write them down, the more they yield. And I actually wake up in the morning feeling quite down now if I haven't got a dream on my mind, because it just kind of like a guiding light during the day. The
Yeah.
imagery, but of course it is symbolic.
Yeah.
It's not always literal. And it's the power of the symbolism, the messages that you associate with them all.
Yes.
That's what the power is. And it can give you a brilliant new perspective
Yes.
to pull you forward. I look forward to going to sleep.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
same here. I mean, I do as well. And my when I set my intention, it's pretty simple. I will just say, well, firstly, I start with I'll actually put my hands on my chest with my eyes are closed, and sometimes I just place like a lavender sort of eye not a shield, but just like a little bag over my eyes, and I lay there and I just say, thank you for showing me what needs to be revealed. And I just keep it really short and simple now. And it's interesting because sometimes I have dreams that, so I have, and I'm going to come back to a couple of things actually, but I have a reoccurring dream. And I love that in your dream dictionary, you break down all the different kinds of dreams. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But sometimes I'll have a reoccurring dream that I've had my entire life, which is actually with my spirit animal, who's a beautiful palomino colored horse. So it's slightly golden, but a little bit light, sort of blonde. And so he takes me through this incredible field. And sometimes I'm sitting on his back. Sometimes he turns into a Pegasus and we're flying around. And that's a really amazing dream that I don't have all the time, but I've had throughout my life at certain moments when things are really going well. It's this really amazing experience. And then this week it was interesting because I actually had a few very prolific dreams, and one was a message about a very close family friend who's been quite ill. She's much older now, a friend of my father's, and I woke up very sad because I really felt like, I'm very connected spiritually to this family for whatever reason, and whenever I dream of them, their son, who was my age, passed away a few decades ago, and he comes into my dreams from time to time with messages, and he's always happy and great and showing me how wonderful he's doing on the other side, and with other people that we've known that have passed away, and how it's all just wonderful. But it's really interesting that this was his stepmother, and I just woke up that morning. I just felt this was on Wednesday, and I just thought, oh God, okay, things aren't great there for her. So it's really interesting, but like you said, it's not to be feared when we're getting these messages of perhaps something that seems a little negative or we feel a little off. It's either, and they can be prolific. So I want you to just you've got this whole section on the kinds of dreams, which one of the things I love about this is you don't often find that in a dream. People talk about dreams. What do they mean? What are the symbols? What are some common ones? Or nightmares, but they don't break it down into all these other, we've heard of lucid dreams, we've heard of out of body experiences and some other things, but just, there's like several pages here of the different types of dreams. So what can happen if we're having, an auditory dream, for example, or, daydreaming? You're sitting there daydreaming, but you're actually awake.
Yes, daydreaming is just another way to dream. It's one of the most neglected dream tools, actually. And I encourage people, especially people who have poor dream recall to spend a little time during the day daydreaming, because it is exactly the same. You're more conscious. So do that. And daydreaming has great power again, because you're going direct to your unconscious.
And is it
And you know,
different to lucid dreaming? Like how is it similar and different?
well, lucid dreaming is when you're actually asleep and you are in a dream, and then suddenly something happens in that dream. Typically it's flying, actually, when people are flying in their dreams and they suddenly realize this doesn't happen in waking life. I can't fly in waking life. And it's that sort of intrusion of a bit of logic, because the only thing missing in dreams is logic and reason. And sometimes a bit of logic will dip in, maybe if you're close to waking. And at that moment, you suddenly know you're in a dream. And that is so incredibly powerful. And
Mm.
when it happens, it's kind of a eureka moment. The trouble is, I get so excited when it happens, I wake myself up. And what I have to learn to do is stay calm.
Mhm.
And that's the hardest thing, because the dream will collapse otherwise. Because if you can stay calm and just think, okay, we're in a dream, what can I do? This is really where you can unlock hidden aspects of your unconscious and find out about yourself and the infinite possibilities within you
Mm.
in a way that you could never, ever do. And it's just the ultimate playground, adventure playground, for you to experiment, role play, do all the things you want to do in your waking life, but believe your fears and your doubts are holding you back. And I'm telling you, if you can kind of do a dress rehearsal in the dream state, your chances of doing it in the waking life dramatically increase, because your unconscious has bought into it. And it's what I
Mm.
said before, once your unconscious has bought into something, believes it's possible, that's when the magic happens, because our brains and our bodies, to a certain extent, are predictive forces. They are always opportunity detecting, wanting to predict our future. And if in your dream state you've already done it, your dreaming mind doesn't know the difference
Mm.
between, I mean, your brain actually doesn't know the difference between the dream and the reality. And when you wake up, it has actually happened,
So
right?
is that why when we're daydreaming, because in the daydreaming state, you're technically awake, right? You can be sitting at your
Yeah.
desk or on a or whatever and just staring out the window and suddenly almost fantasizing about something, right? Not, and I don't, and I'm not using fantasy in the sense of a sexual dream, but you're like fantasizing, you're like awake and you sort of take your imagination's taking you into another space. You're like, oh, imagine if that happened, or wow, I can see myself this, you kind of have this, for me anyway, I have this like, like I'll just go off on this whole, daydreaming tangent. So explain that, like, and link that to what you were just talking about with lucid dreaming
Well,
and
you
it
see
being creating
yourself
our
in the,
reality.
and if you can see yourself doing it in the daydreaming state, but the key actually for it to become a manifesting tool and to attract that into your reality is the belief in it. And unfortunately, with daydreaming, that's why it's great, but it's better if it happens in the dream state, because your conscious mind is asleep.
Mm.
And basically, when your conscious mind is asleep, doubt has gone. There's a suspension of disbelief that happens in the dream state. And that's delicious then, because you're going about the dream and you're totally immersed in it. There
Mm.
is no question that this is a reality. And that's why it's so very powerful in the dream state. Also, in the dream state, something happens in the REM stage of sleep, that the stress response that happens in waking life when fearful things happen is switched off. So we don't get that flight or fright experience. So that's why in the dream state, you can safely do things that you would be terrified to do in your waking life. Again, that's what makes it so powerful, when you're actually asleep and dreaming that you are winning the award, writing the novel, meeting the person of your dreams, all these things. And what I would love everybody to do who reads my dream dictionary or is into dream work is to start realizing that if they get their dreams on board, waking life is so much easier, because you have to, at a deep unconscious level, believe what you want to happen in your waking life is possible. If you don't believe it is possible, it may happen. You might have, there are forces of luck in the world, but it's much more less likely than if you're constantly dreaming about it every night and waking up filled with joy because it
Mm.
has happened in the dream state. It's happened in this alternate reality, which some believe is actually our real life, and our waking life is the dream, but that's another podcast. That this life is an illusion, and actually who
Mhm.
we are in the dream state is the only reality. And again, that's why dream work is such a remarkable healing tool, especially if people have disabilities or tremendous pain and stress in their waking life. It is a wonderful escape, a healing balm. It can be. And there have been many studies now showing that um, lucid dream work can actually heal trauma in a way that grief counseling or therapy can't do. There was a recent study, I believe, in veterans suffering from PTSD, and it was lucid dreaming and dream work that in about 90% of cases helped them move on.
Which is really amazing, and like it's incredible that that can happen. I would imagine some of those people are probably experiencing traumatic dreams too and reliving the trauma, especially if it's people who have experienced things in a war scenario or been in a terrible accident with friends, something awful happened. So can you talk to that point?
Yes.
Do they move through that? Like, does that come up first and then eventually the subconscious they train themselves to release in the
Yes.
subconscious? Okay, so walk us through how does that work?
Well, you do revisit. Many will revisit it in the dream state and enter into a kind of a dialogue with it and accept it,
Hmm.
right? And also, in the case of intense nightmares that are very disturbing and interfering with your ability to function in waking life, a technique that has been shown to be effective in studies is for the person to write out that dream and then rescript the ending,
Wow.
so that they feel that they have some control. Because the trouble with intense trauma is that loss of control. This thing has happened to you in your past and it's completely drained and debilitated you. And that is terrifying. But what that kind of dream work can show you is that that was the past, right? You can revisit it, understand it, but you don't need to let it control you anymore. Moving forward, you can transcend this, you can transform it into something positive moving forward. You
Mm.
can transform monsters into butterflies in the dream state. You have control over what's going on inside of you. You are not going to be consumed by past horrific incidents that have completely destroyed your waking reality. You can have a modicum of control moving forward. And once people become aware that they don't need to let these traumatic memories completely take over their life, and dream work can help them understand that they can do that. They can, when they revisit that dream, that nightmare scenario, for example, they can transform it into something. They can, if they use daydreaming work and dream rescripting, they have much more influence over their dreams than they realize. It's again, dreams just happen to me and I let them happen. No, you don't have to. You can control it. And if you can start controlling the content of your dreams, it's so much easier in waking life to feel that you have control over the world around you.
Yeah, it's
It's often
amazing, isn't
fear.
it?
It's about, I'm a helpless victim. I have no control.
Mm,
And that's really the essence of all spiritual work, reminding us to
yes.
return to our inner being, to changing our inner being is where all true power comes from. So that
Yeah.
whatever's happening around you in your waking life, whatever bereavement, loss, pain, disruption is happening, you always have your own back.
Yeah.
Dream work is one of the simplest and easiest ways to show you that. And it's especially helpful for people who are skeptical or regard themselves as not spiritual. I found that it really is a great route to people who spirituality, they roll their eyes.
It's interesting. And something that I was thinking about was the notion of, in the shamanic view, a practitioner has the ability to cross over into the unseen world through the rhythm of the drum. I wondered, do you think that this perhaps is a crossover area of dreaming and the unconscious or the subconscious, because you are awake and the drum takes you, transcends you into this other space, and it can be similar where you activate, almost, bring forward the dreams. So do you agree with that? Or, I mean, I know you've written something like, well, over close to 200 books. It's mind blowing, actually, how many books you've written, and so many, and then
Yes,
all
I
about
have a
training
problem.
and spiritual, so I know that you've got a vast knowledge of many, many subjects and many things. So talk to this point about this sort of crossover of activating our subconscious, our unconscious, and how we can bring it together. And obviously the tool of the dream is an incredible tool, because it's something we all do. We all dream. It's not like you have to learn, a technique. You can
No.
you can actually learn to teach yourself, but you have to be open and willing, and patience, I think, is key as well, because it may happen tonight if you listen to this and you decide, oh yes, I'm going to go do that, and then nothing happens. Be
Yeah.
patient, I think, as well.
You have to be patient. The dreams will come when you are ready to receive them. And sometimes having no dream recall is actually a gift as well, because it's telling you in your waking life, you need to slow down a bit. The material world has become a bit overpowering. So your logical, rational, conscious voices are squashing the butterflies, the mysterious butterflies of your intuition, right? So poor dream recall, except of course if you're on medication or you have serious health conditions that can sometimes limit dream recall. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so there is that, but in the great majority of cases I've found when there is poor dream recall, there is an overemphasis on the external for validation in your waking life. There is also an overemphasis on the logical, the rational, which is important, but you need, for fulfillment, you need a balance between what is rational, logical, and material, and what is irrational, creative, and intuitive. And I think too many of our problems is, people in the spiritual world tend to go the other way. They, that term "away with the fairies," which is just as bad as
Yeah,
being overly skeptical.
yeah.
And I think both of us can learn from each other. We need the material just as the material needs the intuitive. Oh, I love your cat there. Oh, I love cats. So perfect timing, because when I mentioned intuitive and creative, there was your cat going to the door. It's beautiful timing, synchronicity there. But it's getting that balance. And as I said, poor dream recall. And I know with myself, when I get overly, I'm an author, so I have to do a lot of media. Sometimes big media, social media, all that stuff that people who are spiritual actually really do struggle with, but it's kind of a part and parcel. And when I get too overly involved with all of that, my dream recall is non-existent. And it's like almost a reminder, Teresa, go for a walk in nature. Stop. Listen to some music to find that balance back. Reconnect with what truly matters. And if I do that, make a conscious effort to rebalance my dreams, they're back like an old friend. So poor dream recall can sometimes be a little bit of a warning that you are getting all your validation from the outside in.
Interesting.
And your dreams haven't got a chance of fighting. The dreams are too subtle and too mysterious and gentle to break through. And I think the world is tilting sadly towards that way right now. We see that where externals.
I was just going to say, social media, being on your phone the whole time or something, a tablet, especially for children. I mean, how,
Oh,
as a dream researcher, do you work with children who say, I don't
oh yeah, a lot of children not dreaming, and it's such a sad, because it's natural time to dream. I remember when I was a child, I was dreaming of flying every night. I mean, I don't
dream?
know, it's because I watched The Wizard of Oz and I wanted to these dream, but I would love dreaming. I must have been great for my parents because I was happy to sleep and dream. But now, of course, a lot of kids, they're up late with screens, external, they're passive consumers rather than creators. And it is a crying shame. And I would love actually basic dream work, dream therapy to be taught in schools a lot, and along with meditation, which is the key to unlocking the intuitive creative part of your brain. I would love it that people would actually have a few dream decoding techniques. For example, when you fall asleep and dream, your dreams are messages from your intuition, and your intuition is real. because intuition is what's pushed humanity forward. It's behind all the great things that you love, enjoy consuming on social media, all the movies, all the TV. That came from a creative spark within someone. And I love it that some of the movie directors I admire, for example, Christopher Nolan, he doesn't own a mobile phone. And you know, the dream state, I mean, he did that wonderful movie Inception, and you know, it was inspired by a vision in a dream. And so much, actually, if you look at great entrepreneurs, a lot of them actually rely on their dreams, you know, from Paul McCartney to the founders of Google, to Salvador Dali, to Stephen King. Dreams are such a treasure trove of creativity. And a lot of people we admire,
Einstein, Tesla. I mean, there were so many people who came up with incredible creations throughout history, actually, not just modern day film and music, you know, composers, but so many people have been inspired by their dreams.
They can't do it in the waking state, because in the waking state, often when you have great leaps forward in humanity, it's because someone connects one thing with something from another field that you would never dream, you know, connecting the unexpected.
Yeah.
And you can't do
like
that.
it's a download that you receive because you're open, you're in this state of receptivity.
Yeah. And you can't do it in the waking state because your reason and your logic would say, I'm never going to connect this with that to make that leap forward. It's just not going to happen. But when you're in the kind of a dreaming state, and also the kind of liminal daydreaming states that you've been referencing, and I'm so glad you did, because they are a rich resource. That state just before sleeping and on waking, when you're kind of liminal.
Yeah.
When it's a beautiful state, actually. Twice a day we're in that, when material and intuitive merge and they don't conflict.
Yes.
They're kind of like together. And it's just on waking in the morning, because you're still in that intuitive zone, but your reality is gently filtering in, and there's no conflict for a little bit of a while. And the same at night when you fall asleep, you're leaving reality behind and entering into the multiverse of your dream.
Yes, it's a hypnagogic state, right? It's like, it's very similar to that. That's what's so powerful actually about yoga nidra, is this beautiful practice that helps settle the body to almost emulate this dreamlike state.
People think it's a waste of time. Oh, I'm just sitting there daydreaming. Oh my goodness. I hate the fact that people say stop daydreaming, snap out of it. You know, if you're someone at school who was always staring out the window, that's where all the creative mind wandering is such a powerful tool, because every time the mind wanders, it makes another connection.
Yeah.
Our brains are never idle. It's apparently every time we blink, our thoughts are redirecting. The brain is a miracle. Again, when we're awake, we don't tap into its full potential, but when we're asleep, we get much more idea of who we truly are from the inside out. And I say, if you don't like your dreams, or your dreams make you feel uncomfortable, this is a wonderful opportunity to get comfortable with yourself from the inside out, and to think, well, why am I waking up and I've had such nasty dreams? Don't beat yourself up if you have. It just means that you're not making friends with your shadow. And I think part of life also is making friends with the part of you that is not acceptable.
Yes.
That is that you've repressed or denied. And all your shadow side really wants, it wants to be understood. It wants to be heard.
It wants to show you, it wants to teach you what needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, envy, hate, all these anger, they have lessons to teach you. But it doesn't mean to say because you dream about all these things that you're going to act on them in waking life. Of course, in waking life, you're not going to, because you have choice. You will choose to do what is kind to yourself and others. But in the dream state, at least you can come to terms with your shadow and not deny it. It's like saying, oh, I only want to live in daytime. There's no night. Of course, within us, there's a balance, isn't it? We are all, it's all, I think the theme, what I've been talking to you, is getting balance between the good, the bad, the dark, the light. That's
well, something else that I thought about was actually in the Vedic tradition, they have the terms lila, right, meaning the play of life, and Maya, the illusion. So you very quickly touched on it. You said, oh, that could be a whole other podcast episode. But I really did think about it. I mean, how does the lila and Maya, how do these relate to dreaming? What do you think about that? What do you think about this concept of the dreamscape as reality, and the this physical material world as actually the dream?
Well, I love that you've mentioned this, actually, because I used to work in a hospice. A lot of people, when they get older, say life starts to feel like a dream. That's very interesting. The older people get, the more dreamlike life feels. And I actually encourage people, when they understand the basics of dream decoding to start actually in their waking life applying the same rules. When you bump into someone, if this happened in a dream, how would I understand it? What's the deeper meaning beneath? And I think that's a really, really mysterious and enchanting way to live. That
Yeah.
basically, when you wake up in the morning, interpret all the chance encounters and all the things you do as if that was the dream, and see what
Mm.
precious wisdom that yields for you. But it brings a sense of great possibility, because if this is all a dream, it means we actually have much more power with our mindset than we thought. And that, again, working on our mindset in waking life and what we attract, because in every moment, like right now in this moment with you, I'm creating something that is attracting something to me in the future. And I know it's going to be positive because I can just sense that with you. But in every moment, our every words, our every action,
Mm.
important, not just our thoughts but our actions, because I think actions actually validate our thoughts. There's too much emphasis in the new age spiritual movement on intentions and thoughts. I actually think without actions to back them up, they're a bit meaningless. You're all talk and no words. But in
Mm.
every moment, through our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, we are attracting a potential future. And that is mighty powerful thought.
Mm.
Because what future am I attracting now through what I do? And if we could all become more aware of that, interpret our life as if it were a dream, wow, I think we'd feel much more in control of our destiny and the future that we're manifesting. But also to understand that, everything we experience is a lesson. I do think we're here to learn and grow.
Yeah.
And I actually now, when things go wrong, and believe me, a lot of things go wrong in my life, I actually now it's really helpful perspective I've found. If this was a dream, if it was a nightmare, I would think my dreaming mind is making this happen, this scenario, because it wants me to learn something, because I'm growing,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes growth hurts. So these things are not happening or not working out. Get excited they're not working out, because it's a sign. The pain you feel, the discomfort, is a sign you are ready to grow. You're
Yes.
leaving an old mindset behind. So
Yeah.
that's kind of helps, because life is difficult and we all have our personal journeys and our losses and our
Mm-hmm.
difficulties and our disappointments. So what I found, and anyone listening who's going through that, switch it. Just think, get excited. It's a sign I have to grow,
Yes.
because if I don't grow, I'm going to continue feeling like this. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
to grow.
100%. I totally agree with that. I mean, actually, I was talking to my husband about that very thing last night, and embracing that change, because from that wisdom, you're able to become a wiser person and retrospectively look back at, oh my gosh, I can't, I can't believe I allowed myself to stay like that for so long. Or the freedom that you feel from having this breakthrough, this lightness. So I wanted to ask you some sort of, I'm going to put them in air quotes, basic questions about dreams. There are some really common themes or images, right, that I personally haven't ever dreamt of. One, for example, is the classic teeth falling out that has been, symbolically this sort of symbol for death. My husband dreams of teeth falling out all the time and no one's ever died. So why is this something that,
Uh,
see, you don't mention that, you don't say it in your book, but that's
no.
been in so many, but you write it on the internet and that tells you that's the first thing that comes
Well,
up.
it's sad actually with dream decoding that people can write what they like on the internet, right? Say, oh, if you have a dream of your teeth falling out, it means someone's going to die, and that's really, really distressing to me. And a rule of thumb with dream decoding: if a dream interpretation frightens or diminishes you in any way, it is the incorrect interpretation. I'll tell you why: because dreams are messages from your higher self, your intuition, your unconscious, that only wants what is positive. The
Thank you.
correct interpretation of a dream will always give you a vibration. It will raise your vibration. It will encourage you to do something positive in healing, either for yourself or for others or humanity.
Mhm.
If the interpretation drags you down and fills you with doubt and fear, it is the incorrect interpretation. It is dangerous to go online sometimes, because people can literally write anything. There is
Yeah.
no regulation in this area. And
Yes.
that's why in recent years, I have increasingly worked with dream experts, neuroscientists, psychologists, researching this to try and show people that it has to be positive. right?
Yeah.
And that's why I loved what you said to me. I think it was before we recorded, I can't remember, that you're actually now relying on your own personal interpretation because you
Yeah.
know what's in higher good. And that's really my goal, really. And my publishers will hate me, is that the best dream dictionary is the one you write yourself.
Mm.
It's when you write down, oh, I had a dream. Like, for example, this morning I had a dream that one of my pets, my Labrador, was on fire, right? And I was trying to help it, but I couldn't get there because my hands were burnt. And when I
Mm.
woke up, if you go and search online about that, it's like doom and gloom, your lawyer, but it's not. It's basically saying something in your life that you think is reliable and trustworthy. It wasn't about my dog at all, isn't. And if you try and put the fire out, you're going to burn your own hands. Let it be. So I was kind of able to interpret it myself, but that takes time. And I immediately was able to apply it to a situation that's going on right now. And it really helped me because by not reacting, by stepping back, the issue was solved. It's almost like if you try and put the fire out, you will burn yourself,
Mm.
right?
You're absolutely right with that and feeling into it. And, when you were saying all of that, this other book of yours, so your publisher won't be upset because I found this book last weekend. I was in a store and I came across Night Vision, a field guide. Actually, I didn't realize it was your book. I looked at the image and I thought, God, what a beautiful book. And I
Oh,
flicked through it and saw, the illustrations. And then I realized it's you. And I went, oh my gosh, this is your book. So I bought it. And this is a type of dream dictionary as well. And I really love the way you have written this, presented it, because as we're talking about one's own interpretation and tuning in, I really felt versus, I think dictionaries are always great because people, there's a myriad of things that we can dream of. There's, it goes on and on and on. But the fact that these are more themes,
yeah.
you can tune into the theme of the dream and give it, what is it, and sort of feel into what does it have? What's the meaning in here for me? Does that make sense? So
Absolutely. And it was also, I loved the artwork in it. It was
artwork is stunning. It's like Dali, like a
yeah,
Dali.
yeah.
It's
And
very,
basically, a lot of us don't consider ourselves creative or artistic, but what we don't realize is that every night in our dreams, we are the ultimate artist and creator. And
mm,
again, that's a tip to help people decode it. Think of your dreams as a work of art that you're a critic on, and a work of art. That the magic of a work of art is the endless interpretations. And each art critic will have a different interpretation of the Mona Lisa, or these, or the Scream, or these iconic images.
yes.
Or think of your I say this many times, think of your dreams as a poem and interpret
Mhm.
it. Write it down and think, well, if this was a poem and I went through it line by line, looking for the symbols, the metaphors, the figurative language, the associations. When we were at school, we were told to interpret a poem,
Yes.
and interpreted a dream. We don't realize we're being dream decoders there, because a poem is a dream. It's a kind of
Mm,
dream. It's a daydream of someone very creative, putting it in a poetic form with
love
all
that.
these ancient spiritual tools such as symbolism, which is how we all used to communicate and understand life. What lies beneath? Because you can read a poem on so many levels. You can read it on the surface level, which is not very rewarding. But if you analyze a poem, you go deeper and deeper and deeper to the meanings. And that's the same with great novels.
Yeah.
There are so much beneath the surface. And that's why fairy stories, Jung said, actually, one sign you've grown up is that I don't know. He talked about fairy stories being a sign that you are growing up, that you understand them more and more and more.
Mm,
And fairy story read to a child will have a very different meaning to when it's read when you're older. You can see the deep hidden meanings behind all the symbolism. And it's almost like saying, well, what's the point of dreams? What's the point of fairy stories? What's the point of art? What's the point of poetry? It's exactly the same. They are to show us what truly matters and to get us to dig deep beneath the surface. Because if you live life on the surface level, it it might satisfy you for a while, but at the end of the day, but then you're suddenly hit with a great loss or trauma, as we all do. That's life. You haven't got the resources to cope because you haven't built your inner world,
mhm.
right? And that's the purpose of art, poetry, music, dream work. is to build your inner world so that when you have attacked by the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, you've got inner treasure, a place to go that
Yeah,
is always loving, always honest, always there for you, and always saying, look, here's a new perspective.
I love that. And sometimes when I don't have a dream in the and I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, bummer, I didn't remember anything. Oh, now I know you had said earlier sometimes when we're not dreaming, it's because we've got a lot going on in the day, but we may not always have a lot going on and we just don't recall the dream when we wake up. Is there a reason for that, for not
Actually, there's
recalling?
another interpretation for that, Tatiana. It could be that your dreaming mind saying, look, you're okay.
You
I
did
don't need
anything
to.
tonight? No
You know,
messages tonight. Everything's
I
cool.
have been working on your behalf because you still dream. You still dreamt. Every night we dream. Brain
Mhm.
scans show that, but you just haven't recalled it. But it could be your dreaming mind. You will know because you'll know what the correct answer is because you'll get that aha moment of
Mhm.
yes, that's right. Your dreaming mind saying, look, you're okay. I'm doing the quiet work behind the scenes. You get on with your brilliant life. It's okay. It could be a vote of confidence as well. Right, but you will know because if you have been very stressed or overly preoccupied with what doesn't matter, as we all tend to do, we get bogged down with trivia, you will know. So it's always, again, going back to your inner voice, it's always your intuition that is the ultimate arbiter of what is going on for you when whether you recall a dream or not. So sometimes actually I take it as a little vote of confidence. I'm okay. Because maybe your dreaming mind sometimes screams for attention, right? When it
Mhm.
sends you like a nightmare or a vivid, shocking image. Sometimes it's saying, no, come on, listen to me. I'm sending you all these messages, these warnings. And that's why keeping a dream journal is so crucial. Because
Mm,
sometimes these messages and warnings come a few days or weeks before. They're foreshadowing. And the only way to know about your dream world foreshadowing things in your waking life is to keep a dream journal so you have proof. You need to see this poetic voiceover to your life. You need to see your waking life and your dream life side by side, right? And how your intuition, your unconscious is constantly looking at your waking life and trying to show you the potentials and the pitfalls.
yeah.
You in your waking life maybe haven't noticed, and maybe something shocking did happen, and you go back in your dream dictionary, you think, oh my goodness, that dream just described it. That's
Yeah.
deja reveille, isn't it? A dream remembered. And it's so wonderful when you do because you think there's a part of me that knows the bigger picture, the part of me that can travel into the future, transcend time, that knows what's in my best interests. But you
Yeah.
need to get that proof. You need to actually think like a scientist, a citizen scientist, and have
Hmm.
your data, your proof in your dream journal. It's the most fascinating book you will ever read.
Have you saved all of yours?
I started writing down my dreams. I was encouraged to from a very young age because I was born into a family of traveling spiritualists and psychics.
I know, I love that.
And originally, though, it's before I could write properly, it was drawings. So
Oh,
I've got all these drawings of ladies dancing and
oh,
wings and stuff.
beautiful.
And I've kept them, but of course now it's gone a bit more digital. And I actually now, because sometimes I get dream overcrowding, I use a voice recorder.
Okay, okay, that makes
It's
sense.
less satisfying actually, because it's more satisfying actually to have it like a book, like the book of your soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
that's great. And then I guess you can even, now that there's dictation apps and stuff too, you can just, yeah, voice note it and then have it written out for you electronically.
yes, exactly. And also AI image generators are quite good because if you've had a really random dream, and if you actually just see what the AI image generator comes up with is astonishing sometimes.
Wow, I have not tried that. Okay, I might try
Actually,
that.
there are quite a few. It's fascinating because you can actually then describe your dream as accurately as possible and then see it played out.
Oh, wait, have you got an app that you recommend for that?
There's AI, just any AI image generator.
Any?
When
Okay, so what one do you use? Do you use a specific one?
I don't know the name, I don't use a specific one.
Okay, just type it in.
I'm not very technical, so I tend to use my friend's one, and I just say, well, squirrel, bicycle, riding a bicycle, then
Funny,
and then,
funny.
and then you can actually see, and then you can go back and modify. No, the squirrel wasn't looking like that. It had a tail, a much longer tail, and then it's really powerful PowerPoint when you see your dream sort of played out. And actually, Xbox did that. They asked their gamers to send in their dreams. And if you look at Xbox games, some of them that are mighty successful, they are powered by dreams, by the dreams of gamers, because there's a strong link actually between people who video game and dream, highly creative. Not that I'm recommending video gaming, like anything in life, in moderation, but it's a great way actually, if your dream recall is poor, do a bit of video gaming, because you're practicing going into an alternative reality in the waking state, because that's what gaming is. My favorite game is Skyrim. If you've
Okay.
ever done that, it's a fantasy world that you enter into. It's really, really like being in a dream.
Wow.
And actually a little bit of half an hour a day, bit of Skyrim. Your
Really?
dreaming mind has got
Wow.
all the symbols and but
So you get one of my children to download that game.
Powered by Dreams was an Xbox. I think it's still running. Where the dreams of gamers led to massive franchises.
So I was just looking through your book and I can't find it, but there was a section where you actually had some very specific types of dreams. One was, and it's the way I mostly dream, in this very sort of cinematic, like adventure type of dream. And my husband and I, when we talk about dreams, like he'll say, "Oh, I always dream I'm at an airport and I'm waiting to board, and then I go on a plane and I get my seat," and that he travels a lot for work. And then when I'll share my dreams, like I had this one years ago where I was like shared the history of the planet of Earth, and how like Mars was once a planet like ours, and that I mean, it was really full on. I felt like I was in literally this live action, cinematic film. And when I read it in your book, I went, wow, like, okay, that's the kind of dreamer I am.
You're an adventurer / explorer. It is brilliant. But how did that make you feel? Because often when people have these really stunning, cinematic, vibrant, bold dreams, sometimes in their waking life, they cave a bit and think, oh, that's all too much. I hope you didn't think that and you went the other way.
No, I felt like I actually woke up and I actually felt as if I had been watching a film on a screen. Some of my dreams I'm an active participant in, but this one I really felt like, whoa, I'm watching it. I'm being told information. And I wrote it all down because I was like, oh my God, this could actually be a film or a book or something. It
It
was
probably could.
really,
It could.
and it was, and then I really felt like I was being shared a glimpse into perhaps our history, with this idea of Mars was once a planet like ours and very fertile and lush and had water, and then had this destruction occur, and that amongst us on Earth, and what was shown to me were people who were, I don't want to call them, not vampires in the sort of sense that with teeth and that can't be out in the daylight, they, or that need to survive off blood, or are the waking dead. It wasn't like that, but they were referred to as vampires, and they had red eyes, and they needed to wear very dark sunglasses, and as if they were
This is the next Netflix series. Come
like,
on.
it was full on. It was full on, and I literally was like, whoa. And I mean, yeah, it was full on. So I actually dream quite a lot of dreams like that are almost,
Write them down. Write
yeah,
them
they've got a full story. I almost feel like there's not necessarily a premonition, but there's
dream envy
some,
now. Mine feel very tedious compared.
crazy story. No, they're not crazy stories, but that I feel like I'm being somehow, in my subconscious, I'm receiving this transmission of an actual story from another time, and like shared with like this vision of what happened, and sort of humanity and what's happening on our planet now, and what with climate change and everything else. And so anyway, those are the kind, like, I don't have them all the time, but when I do, they're really prolific, and I'm just like, whoa, okay.
Because of the nature of work you do, you're going to be prone to that kind of dream anyway. It shows how expansive you are from the inside out. I believe that you are connecting to the collective unconscious there. Sometimes, my dream dictionaries, as I said, because I'm keen to mainstream dream work, I tend to keep it more on the first level, which is psychological self-help
Yeah.
and working on your own inner world. But I do believe that more you go into it and the more you work on your dream decoding, that it starts to unlock doors, and you realize that how we are a drop in the ocean.
Yes.
But that's the next step. And I think a lot of people would find that quite alarming if they haven't done the work first. because it's too much. As I said, they would find it quite overwhelming. But the more you do fall in love with your own dream potential and understand yourself from the inside out, the next natural step, it has to happen, is you realize how you are interconnected to everyone,
Yes.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought that we are individuals is ludicrous. And
Yes.
especially when you dream about other people and sense something in their life, and then you find out that it's true, or as you said, your afterlife dreams showing that you're connecting to life beyond life, shows that it's infinite.
Yes.
It's infinite. But as I said, my mission is to kind of engage the mainstream. So I'm aware of these layers and layers that people who are advanced in dream work will go. The shamanic journey, all that
Mhm.
is so thrilling. But I'm just trying to hook people at level one.
No, I love that. And
And
no, it is important. And that's why I said to you before we started recording, I haven't used a dream dictionary in a long time because I
good,
really did start to just
good.
do it intuitively. Not that I outgrew a dream dictionary, but I felt like, oh gosh, the way that I'm receiving dreams is I'm not finding the definitions, and this is decades ago before you could go online
Yeah.
and just Google stuff, but they were still talking about teeth representing death in those books all those years ago, all those decades ago. Um, but
What my book is it's to kickstart symbolic
oh,
thinking. And say
it's
symbolic
great.
thinking is in our DNA. It's
Yeah.
how we began. When we first walked this earth, we looked for the deeper meaning. You need to look at cave art and ancient drawings and whatever. We used to live in tune with the planet as well, the cycles of the moon. Everything had hidden meanings. We lived in a symbolic world.
Yes.
Unfortunately, with the march of technology and science, which has been important for our material well-being, we have lost sight of that ability. So the books I write are especially for people who are new to this, who want to just, if you work with my dream dictionary for a while, it will kickstart what's natural when it's in your DNA.
Oh, I love it. My daughter, who's 14,
Yes.
took it and used it, and she was keeping a journal, and she still does. She has it. She keeps it next to her bed, and she reads through it. And then she's been really following your prompts because she's like, I really want to understand my dreams. And she dreams similarly to me. She'll wake up and go, oh my gosh, I had this adventure. I went on this adventure, and I did this and this and this. And then I said, well, when we'll really look at Teresa's book, I said, because this is a great, like, this really is an excellent dream dictionary. And for myself who hasn't picked one up in a long time, I was really excited to receive it and look through it. And I thought, wow, this is excellent. You've done a really great job. And I wondered, interestingly, as you said in the start, it was condensed material because you have reference, oh, look under this section or whatever, if it's an animal, for example, you're like, look under horse for donkey or
Yeah, yeah,
whatever, right?
yeah.
But and I thought, wow, I wonder if this was a bigger one. I knew it
It
was
was the element
another
in
edition, but I didn't realize it was like the 22nd or 23rd edition. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I actually had to hunt down the original edition.
That's the Element Encyclopedia of 20,000 Dreams. It was a hardback, as I say, a doorstop of a book, absolutely massive. So I was so grateful for the privilege of writing it for HarperCollins. I really was. But as I said, it's to kickstart symbolic thinking and to get you to be confident in your own dream interpretation and then to start to know how you are talking to yourself every night. And it's your higher self. I don't like that term higher, suggesting that who you are now isn't good enough. It's basically the part of you, your soul. That's
Yes.
what I'm saying. The part of you that knows you're on a journey and that life isn't about the destination, it's about the learning along the way. And it's your guide, it's your inner nightlight, when all other lights go out. Quite literally.
Love that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, so that was a beautiful way to end the interview. But is there anything else any recommendation that you might like to share? Any additional tips? And then I would love for you to tell us your website and where we can get all your information from. And how many books have you actually written?
I don't know. I just keep writing them.
Like endless, endless.
I've got another dream book coming out this year actually with HarperCollins called The Dream Cure,
Oh,
which is about using dreams to heal your life. But a tip you said is on waking, keep still for a few minutes. Remember what I said about the material world being too dominant. When you move and fidget on waking, you immediately go into reality too quick. right? So just keep still, preferably in the position you woke up, just for a minute or a minute and a half. Keep your eyes closed, because even blinking, as I said, redirects your thought. You want to mirror that dreaming state as long as possible and capture your dream. Catch your dream. Also, if you can wake up without an alarm clock, I would highly recommend it for dream recall, because alarm clocks are brutal. They shock you into reality, and your dreams don't stand a chance. If you do need to rely on an alarm clock, I would suggest natural sounds, bird song, or whatever, cows mooing, whatever, you know.
I love it.
So that's my tip. Just because, again, you can't. The jump to reality is too fast, and your dreams haven't got a chance. They, because the waking world dominates when you're awake. It does tend to squash your intuition unless you consciously try to connect with it. My website is www.teresacheung.com, and I'm on Instagram at the Theresa Cheung, as well as a Facebook author page and X.
Lovely. Wonderful. Well, this was fantastic. And thank you so much. I mean, we really covered quite a lot.
I loved it. Thank you. You are a joy, a dream to talk to you. I'm very, very grateful. I do feel connected to you after this interview. So thank you from my heart.
Oh, thank you so much.